Billionaire CEO Nathaniel Kingston had everything except happiness. But when he found Jasmine Walker, a cleaning lady, asleep in a janitor's closet, his world shifted. She was hard-working, proud, and completely unimpressed by his wealth. He was intrigued. Could love bridge the gap between their worlds? The lights of New York City sparkled against the night sky as Nathaniel Kingston stood at the window of his penthouse office. At 45, he had everything a man could want: a billion-dollar company, respect in the business world, and more money than he could spend in a lifetime. But tonight, like most nights, he felt empty. "Mr. Kingston, the board is waiting for you in the conference room," his assistant Margaret said from the doorway. Nathaniel straightened his tie and nodded. "Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes. Also, Mr. Kingston, don't forget about the charity gala tomorrow night. Your mother called twice to remind you." Nathaniel sighed. Another event where he'd be paraded around as New York's most eligible bachelor. At his age, he was tired of the games, tired of women who only saw his bank account. "Fine. Tell my mother. I'll be there." The board meeting dragged on for hours. Budget cuts, quarterly projections, and expansion plans. By the time it ended, it was nearly midnight, and Nathaniel was the last one left in the building, or so he thought. His head pounded as he loosened his tie and walked down the empty hallway toward the executive restroom. All he wanted was to splash some cold water on his face before heading home to his empty penthouse. When he pushed open the door, the lights were dimmed. Strange, he thought. The cleaning staff usually kept them on. As he moved toward the sink, he heard a soft sound coming from the janitor's closet. The door was slightly ajar. Nathaniel frowned. Security should have checked the building. Cautiously, he approached the closet and pulled the door open. What he saw stopped him in his tracks. A woman was asleep on a small stool, her head resting against the wall. She wore the standard blue uniform of the cleaning company, but even in the dim light he could see she was beautiful. Her dark curls framed a face with high cheekbones, and her long eyelashes fluttered slightly as she dreamed. For a moment, Nathaniel just stared, unsure what to do. Then her eyes opened. The second she saw him, standing there in his $1,000 suit, she jumped up, knocking over a bottle of cleaning solution. "Sir, I'm so sorry," she gasped, her eyes wide with panic. "I just sat down for a minute. I didn't mean to fall asleep." "It's okay," Nathaniel said, holding up a hand. He'd never seen someone look so terrified of him. "Are you all right?" The woman quickly gathered her cleaning supplies, hands shaking. "Please, I need this job. I have bills to pay. I'm not going to fire you," Nathaniel interrupted. "What's your name?" She hesitated, as if weighing whether to trust him. Jasmine Walker." "Jasmine," he repeated, the name feeling foreign on his tongue. "Why are you sleeping here? Don't you have somewhere to go?" Her shoulders slumped. "Slightly. My shift ends at 1 a.m. The next bus to my neighborhood doesn't run until 5. It's not worth going home just to come back from my other job at 8. "Other job?" "I clean offices here at night, and I work at a coffee shop during the day," she explained. Still looking like she expected him to call security any moment, Nathaniel checked his watch. It was 12:30 a.m. "You haven't finished your shift?" "No, sir, I still have the executive floor to do." "That's this floor," Nathaniel said. "My floor." Jasmine nodded, looking down at her shoes. "I know who you are, Mr. Kingston." Nathaniel was surprised. Most people knew his name, but something in the way she said it was different. There was no admiration or fear, just acknowledgement. "Well, don't let me stop you," he said, stepping back. "Finish your work, but Jasmine?" "Yes?" "Don't sleep in closets anymore. It's not safe." She gave him a small smile that transformed her tired face. "I don't make a habit of it, Mr. Kingston." As she wheeled her cleaning cart past him, Nathaniel caught a whiff of something sweet. Not perfume, but something simpler, like soap or shampoo. It was oddly comforting. Instead of leaving, he returned to his office and sat at his desk, pretending to work, while he listened to the sounds of Jasmine cleaning. Every now and then, he'd glance up to see her through the glass walls, diligently wiping surfaces, emptying trash cans and vacuuming. There was something graceful about the way she moved, something dignified. This woman who worked 2 jobs and slept in closets carried herself with more self-respect than most of the socialites he knew. When she reached his office, Jasmine knocked lightly. "Come in," Nathaniel called. "I need to clean in here, if that's—" "Okay," she said, her voice soft but not meek. "Of course." He gathered some papers, making room for her. "I'm just finishing up." She worked quickly and efficiently, but Nathaniel noticed her glancing at the family photo on his desk. "My parents," he explained, "and my sister Vanessa." Jasmine nodded. "You look like your father." "So everyone tells me." He leaned back in his chair. "Do you have family in the city, Jasmine?" She hesitated, as if unused to bosses making small talk. "My grandmother, I take care of her. She raised me after my parents died." "I'm sorry to hear that." Jasmine shrugged, moving to dust the bookshelves. "It was a long time ago, car accident when I was 10. Nathaniel watched as she reached up to dust a high shelf, noticing the grace in her movements, despite her obvious exhaustion. "How long have you been working 2 jobs in?" he asked. 3 years now." She finished with the shelves and moved to the trash can. "Ever since Grandma got sick. Medical bills, you know." Nathaniel did know in theory. He owned part of a healthcare company after all, but he'd never had to worry about paying a bill in his life. "What's wrong with your grandmother?" he found himself asking. "Parkinson's. She needs special care now." Jasmine glanced at him, a flash of defensiveness in her eyes. "I'm going to night school too when I can, working on my business degree." Nathaniel was impressed despite himself. "That's quite a workload." "We do what we have to do." She finished with his office and moved toward the door. "All done, Mr. Kingston. Have a good night." On impulse, he stood up. "Let me drive you home." Jasmine froze, her hand on the door handle. "Excuse me. It's late and you said the bus doesn't come until 5. Let me drive you home." She looked at him warily. "That's not necessary." "I insist," Nathaniel said, already grabbing his coat. "It's the least I can do for someone who works this hard." Jasmine hesitated, and Nathaniel could see the calculation in her eyes, weighing the risk of getting into a car with a man she barely knew against hours of waiting in a cold bus station. "I need to clock out and return my cart," she finally said. "I'll meet you in the parking garage. Space 1. 20 minutes later, Jasmine approached his car, a sleek black Mercedes, looking nervous but determined. She'd changed into jeans and a simple sweater, her cleaning uniform presumably packed in the small backpack she carried. "Nice car," she said, as she slid into the passenger seat, her voice tinged with irony. "Where to?" Nathaniel asked, ignoring her tone. "Flatbush, Brooklyn." She gave him an address that was indeed at least an hour away by public transport. They drove in silence for a while, the late-night traffic light as they crossed the bridge into Brooklyn. Nathaniel glanced over occasionally, noticing how Jasmine sat with her back straight, hands folded in her lap, as if afraid to touch anything in his expensive car. "How long have you worked for Kingston Enterprises?" he asked, breaking the silence. "The cleaning company has had the contract for 2 years. I've been on the night crew the whole time." "And I've never noticed you before," Nathaniel murmured, more to himself than to her. Jasmine looked over at him, her expression unreadable in the dim light. "Why would you? I'm just the cleaning lady." Her words hit him harder than they should have. She was right. How many people worked in his building, keeping it running, whom he never even looked at? "Well, I noticed you tonight," he said quietly. Jasmine didn't respond, just looked out the window as they drove through the darkened streets of Brooklyn, away from the gleaming towers of Manhattan. When they reached her neighborhood, Nathaniel could see why she was reluctant to come home late at night. The streets were poorly lit, and several storefronts were boarded up. Her building was an old brownstone divided into apartments with peeling paint on the front steps. He pulled up to the curb. "Let me walk you to your door." "That's really not—" "Please, Jasmine, it's late." She sighed but nodded, and he followed her up the cracked concrete steps to the front door. She unlocked it and turned to face him. "Thank you for the ride, Mr. Kingston." "Nathaniel," he corrected. "Call me Nathaniel." She gave him a small smile. "Thank you, Nathaniel. Good night." "Wait," he said, as she started to turn away. "Will you be at work tomorrow night?" "Every night except Sundays." Nathaniel nodded, suddenly feeling awkward. "Well, get some rest." "You too," she said, and then she was gone, the door closing behind her. As Nathaniel drove back to Manhattan to his penthouse with its panoramic views and designer furniture, he couldn't stop thinking about Jasmine, about the dignity with which she carried her difficult life, about the way she'd looked at him, not as Nathaniel Kingston, billionaire CEO, but just as a man. It had been a long time since anyone had seen him that way. The next morning, Nathaniel surprised his assistant by asking for the contract information for the cleaning company. By lunchtime, he had arranged for a company car to pick up Jasmine after her shift and drive her home every night. When Margaret questioned this unusual request, Nathaniel simply said, "It's a safety issue. I don't want our staff waiting for buses in the middle of the night." But as he prepared for the charity gala that evening, adjusting his bow tie in the mirror, he knew it was more than that. For the first time in years, he was looking forward to going back to the office late tonight. Maybe, just maybe, he would run into Jasmine again. What he didn't know was that his sister Vanessa had been watching his unusual behavior all day. As they rode to the gala together in his limousine, she studied him with narrowed eyes. "You seem different today, Nate. What's going on?" "Nothing," he said, avoiding her gaze. "Just a busy day." Vanessa, who had always been able to read him like a book, wasn't convinced. "Does this have something to do with that cleaning company contract you had Margaret pull?" Nathaniel glanced at her sharply. "That was a simple business matter." Vanessa hummed skeptically. "You never concern yourself with simple business matters. That's what you pay people for." Before he could respond, the limousine pulled up to the red carpet. Cameras flashed as they stepped out. New York's elite business siblings arriving at one of the season's most prestigious events. But even as Nathaniel shook hands and posed for photos, his mind was back in that dimly lit bathroom where he'd found Jasmine sleeping. And for the first time in his carefully controlled life, Nathaniel Kingston didn't know what would happen next. The charity gala was in full swing, a sea of designer dresses and tuxedos filling the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead as New York's elite mingled, sipping champagne and discussing the latest mergers and acquisitions. Nathaniel Kingston stood alone by the bar, watching the crowd. These events had always bored him, but tonight he found himself particularly disconnected from the glittering scene before him. "There you are," a sultry voice said behind him. Nathaniel turned to see Catherine Reynolds, the daughter of one of his business associates. She was stunning in a red gown that left little to the imagination, her blonde hair styled perfectly. "Catherine," he acknowledged with a nod. "You look lovely." "And you look distracted," she replied, moving closer. "I've been trying to catch your eye all evening," Nathaniel forced a smile. "Sorry. I have a lot on my mind. Business never sleeps. All work. And no play makes Nathaniel a dull boy," she teased, placing a manicured hand on his arm. "Maybe I can help take your mind off work." Before Nathaniel could respond, his sister Vanessa appeared at his side, elegant in a blue gown. "Catherine, darling," Vanessa said with a tight smile. "I believe your father was looking for you." Catherine's smile faltered, but she nodded. "I'll find you later, Nathaniel." As she walked away, Vanessa turned to her brother. "She's hunting for husband number 3, and your bank account makes you prime prey." "I can handle Catherine Reynolds," Nathaniel said dryly. "Can you? You've been staring into space all night." Vanessa studied him. "What's going on with you?" Nathaniel sighed. There was no point hiding things from Vanessa. She knew him too well. "I met someone," Vanessa's eyebrows shot up. "Well, this is news. Who is she? Someone here tonight?" "No," Nathaniel said, looking away. "It's complicated." "Nate, don't tell me she's married." "No, nothing like that." He took a sip of his whiskey. "She works for me." Vanessa frowned. "An employee? That's playing with fire, especially these days." "It's not what you think. She's—" He paused, unsure how to explain. "She's different." "Different how?" Nathaniel thought about Jasmine, about the quiet dignity in her eyes despite her exhaustion. "Real," he finally said. "She's real." Vanessa looked skeptical, but was prevented from pressing further when their mother approached, regal in a classic black gown. "There are my children," Elizabeth Kingston said, air-kissing both their cheeks. "To Nathaniel, darling, you haven't said hello to the Blackwells yet. Their daughter just returned from Europe and she's absolutely dying to meet you." Nathaniel suppressed a groan. "Mother, I'm not interested in being set up." Elizabeth's smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened slightly. "It's not about interest, dear, it's about connections. The Blackwells own half the real estate in Boston, and we've been trying to expand there for years." "So acquire their company," Nathaniel said flatly. "Don't try to marry me off to achieve it." "Nathaniel," his mother hissed, "keep your voice down." Vanessa stepped in smoothly. "Mother, I need your opinion on something. The foundation is considering 2 new charities for next year's gala, and I value your input." As Vanessa led their mother away, she shot Nathaniel a look that clearly said, "You owe me." Nathaniel finished his drink and checked his watch. It was just after 11 p.m. If he left now, he could be back at the office by 11:30, while Jasmine would still be working. Making his decision, he quietly slipped out of the ballroom, ignoring Catherine's attempts to catch his eye. Outside, he instructed his driver to take him to Kingston Enterprises. The office building was quiet when he arrived, just a few security guards on duty. Nathaniel nodded to them as he passed, taking the elevator up to the executive floor. As the doors opened, he heard the soft hum of a vacuum cleaner. Jasmine was there, focused on her work. She'd tied her hair back with a bandana, and her uniform sleeves were rolled up as she guided the vacuum across the carpet. She didn't notice him at first, and Nathaniel took a moment just to watch her. When she turned and saw him, she jumped slightly, then quickly switched off the vacuum. "Mr. Kingston," she said, looking surprised, "you're back late." "Nathaniel," he reminded her. "And yes, I had an event, but I needed to pick up some files." It was a transparent excuse, and from the slight raise of her eyebrow, Jasmine knew it. "The car service called me," she said. "Thank you for arranging that, but it's not necessary." "I disagree," Nathaniel said, stepping closer. "No one should have to wait hours for a bus in the middle of the night." "I should have thought of it sooner for all the night stuff." Jasmine studied him, clearly unsure what to make of his attention. "Well, I appreciate it, but I don't want special treatment." "It's not special treatment. It's..." He paused. "It's the right thing to do." Jasmine smiled then, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "That's nice to hear from a CEO. Most of the ones I clean for don't even know we exist. I'm learning that I've been..." Nathaniel searched for the right word. "Blind to a lot of things." An awkward silence fell between them. Jasmine shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "I should get back to work," she said finally. "I still have 2 more floors to clean." "Let me help you," Nathaniel said impulsively. Jasmine laughed, thinking he was joking, but when his expression remained serious, her laughter faded. "You want to help me clean?" "Why not?" "Because you're wearing a tuxedo that probably costs more than I make in 3 months, she suggested, gesturing to his outfit. Nathaniel looked down at himself and chuckled. "Fair point. But I can at least keep you company." Jasmine hesitated, then nodded. "All right, but don't blame me if the other cleaners start gossiping about the boss following me around." As she went back to vacuuming, Nathaniel removed his jacket and bow tie, draping them over a chair. He rolled up his sleeves and picked up a duster. From her cart. "What are you doing?" Jasmine asked, eyes wide. "Helping," Nathaniel said simply, and began dusting the bookshelves along the wall. For a moment, Jasmine just stared at him, then burst out laughing. "You're doing it all wrong," she said, coming over to him. "Here, like this." She demonstrated the proper technique, her movements efficient and practiced. Nathaniel tried to copy her, feeling strangely pleased when she nodded in approval. For the next hour they worked together, Jasmine showing him how to properly clean various surfaces, both of them laughing at his clumsy attempts. "How long have you been the CEO?" Jasmine asked as they moved to the next floor. 10 years, Nathaniel replied. "My father stepped down when his health started failing and I took over." "Do you like it, running the company?" Nathaniel considered the question. No one had asked him that in years. Everyone just assumed he loved the power and prestige. "Sometimes," he said honestly, "I like solving problems, creating jobs, but the politics, the constant pressure," he shook his head, "those I could do without." What would you do instead? Jasmine asked, genuinely curious, if you could do anything. Again, Nathaniel was struck by how long it had been since someone had asked him about himself, his real self, not his business persona. I always wanted to design buildings, he admitted. I studied architecture in college before switching to business when my father got sick. Jasmine looked surprised. You don't seem like the artistic type. No, Nathaniel smiled. What type do I seem like? The serious, all-business type, the kind who never lets his guard down. Until tonight, when I'm dusting bookshelves in a tuxedo. Jasmine laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Until tonight, she agreed. By the time they finished, it was nearly 1 a.m. Jasmine looked at her watch and sighed. I should get home. My grandmother wakes up early, and I need to give her her medication before I leave for my other job. Let me drive you, Nathaniel offered. The car service, I want to, he interrupted. Please. Jasmine studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Let me change first. When she returned from the employee locker room, she was wearing jeans and a simple blue sweater that brought out the warmth in her dark skin. Her hair was down now, cascading in soft curls past her shoulders. Nathaniel found himself staring, struck by how beautiful she was outside of her work uniform. Ready? She asked, seeming self-conscious under his gaze. The drive to Brooklyn was different this time. They talked easily about books they'd read, places they'd like to visit, even sharing childhood stories. Jasmine told him about growing up with her grandmother after her parents died, about her dream of opening a small bookstore cafe one day. That's why I'm getting my business degree, she explained. Slow and steady, taking classes when I can afford them. How much longer until you finish? Nathaniel asked. At this rate, Jasmine sighed. Another 4 years, probably. Maybe more if Grandma needs more care. When they reached her apartment building, Nathaniel again insisted on walking her to the door. You don't have to keep doing this, she said as they climbed the steps. I know, he replied simply. At her door, Jasmine turned to face him. Thank you for the ride, and for, she gestured vaguely, for helping tonight. It was unexpected. I enjoyed it, Nathaniel said, surprised to realize it was true. He'd had more fun dusting shelves with Jasmine than he'd had at any society function in years. They stood there awkwardly for a moment, neither sure what to say next. Finally, Nathaniel cleared his throat. Would you like to have dinner sometime? He asked. Maybe this weekend? Jasmine's eyes widened. Dinner? With you? Yes. With me? Nathaniel said, suddenly feeling nervous in a way he hadn't since he was a teenager. Unless you don't want to. It's not that, Jasmine said quickly. It's just we're from different worlds, Nathaniel, very different worlds. Maybe that's a good thing, he suggested. Maybe we both need to see different worlds, Jasmine bit her lip, considering. I have Sundays off, she said finally, but nothing fancy. I don't own anything fancy. Nathaniel smiled, feeling ridiculously pleased. Sunday it is, and we'll go somewhere where the food matters more than the dress code. As he turned to leave, Jasmine called after him, Nathaniel, this is crazy, you know that, right? He looked back at her. Maybe, but it doesn't feel crazy. It feels right. With that, he headed back to his car, unaware that across the street, someone was watching. A man in a dark sedan lowered a camera after snapping several photos of Nathaniel Kingston, billionaire CEO, standing on the doorstep of a rundown Brooklyn apartment building with a beautiful young black woman. By morning, those photos would be on the desk of Vanessa Kingston, who had always made it her business to know everything about her brother's life, especially when he was acting strangely. Back in his penthouse, Nathaniel couldn't sleep. His mind kept returning to Jasmine, to her laugh, to the way she'd shown him how to dust properly, to the stories she'd told him about her life. For the first time in years, he felt truly awake, as if he'd been moving through his life half asleep until now. Sunday couldn't come fast enough. The next morning, Nathaniel was in his home office reviewing reports when his doorbell rang. Frowning, he went to answer it, surprised to find his sister standing there. It's not even 9 yet, he said as she brushed past him into the apartment. What are you doing here? Vanessa said nothing, just walked to his living room and tossed A manila envelope onto the coffee table. "What's this?" Nathaniel asked, picking it up. "Open it," Vanessa said, arms crossed. Inside were photographs of him and Jasmine standing on her doorstep the night before, talking and smiling at each other. Nathaniel looked up sharply. "You had me followed?" "I had you protected," Vanessa corrected. "When my brother starts acting strange and disappearing from major events to go to the office at midnight, I get concerned." "So you spied on me," Nathaniel said, his voice hard. "Who is she, Nate?" Vanessa asked, ignoring his anger. "And please don't tell me she's just an employee." Nathaniel sat down, the photos still in his hand. "Her name is Jasmine Walker. She works for the cleaning service, and no, she's not just anything." Vanessa sat across from him, her expression softening slightly. "This is about more than helping an employee get home safely, isn't it?" "I don't know what it is yet," Nathaniel admitted. "But I want to find out." "Nate," Vanessa said gently, "you know how this looks, right? The wealthy white CEO pursuing a black cleaning lady who works for him? The press would have a field day. The board would question your judgment." "I'm not pursuing her," Nathaniel said defensively. "We're having dinner as friends." "Friends," Vanessa repeated skeptically. "The way you were looking at her in these photos doesn't say friends to me." Nathaniel stood up, anger rising in him. "I don't care how it looks. For once in my life, I've met someone who doesn't care about my money or my position. Someone real. And what does she care about?" Vanessa challenged. "Have you considered that? What could a woman like her possibly want from a man like you?" "A woman like her?" Nathaniel repeated coldly. "What exactly do you mean by that, Vanessa?" Vanessa had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "You know what I mean. Someone from a completely different background, different social circle, different everything." "Maybe that's exactly what I need," Nathaniel said quietly. "Someone different, because everything in my world, our world, feels fake and empty." Vanessa stared at her brother for a long moment, then sighed. "You really like her." It wasn't a question, but Nathaniel nodded anyway. "Just be careful," Vanessa warned, standing to leave. "Not everyone is as accepting as I am. Mother would have a fit if she saw these photos." "Then make sure she doesn't," Nathaniel said firmly. After Vanessa left, Nathaniel stood at his window looking out over the city. In one direction lay Manhattan, with its gleaming towers of wealth and power. In the other, Brooklyn, where Jasmine was probably at her coffee shop job right now. Two different worlds. But maybe, just maybe, there was room for a connection between them. What Nathaniel didn't know was that at that very moment, Jasmine was being fired from her coffee shop job because she had missed her shift that morning, having overslept after their late night together. And as she walked home in the cold morning air, tears of frustration stinging her eyes, Jasmine found herself wondering if meeting Nathaniel Kingston was the best thing that had ever happened to her, or the worst mistake of her life. Jasmine climbed the stairs to her apartment, each step heavier than the last. Losing her coffee shop job was a disaster. How would she pay for her grandmother's medication now? The cleaning job alone wouldn't cover their expenses. When she opened the door, she found her grandmother, Eleanor, sitting in her wheelchair by the window. "You're home early," Eleanor said, her voice soft but her mind still sharp despite her illness. "Everything okay, baby?" Jasmine forced a smile. "Just a schedule change." She couldn't bear to worry her grandmother with the truth. "How are you feeling today?" "Had better days, had worse," Eleanor replied, studying her granddaughter carefully. "Something's bothering you, I can tell." Jasmine sighed as she knelt beside the wheelchair. "They let me go at the coffee shop. Said they needed someone more. A reliable." Eleanor reached out a trembling hand to touch Jasmine's cheek. "Because you were late." "I overslept," Jasmine admitted. "I got home late last night." "The buses again?" Jasmine hesitated. "No, actually, I got a ride home." Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "A ride? From who?" "Just someone from work." Jasmine busied herself adjusting Eleanor's blanket. "Jasmine Walker, I raised you better than to lie to your grandmother," Eleanor scolded gently. "Who gave you a ride that's got you so flustered?" Jasmine looked up into the wise eyes that had watched over her since childhood. "His name is Nathaniel. Nathaniel Kingston." Eleanor's eyes widened. The Kingston? The man who owns the building you clean? He doesn't exactly own the building, Jasmine said, but nodded. But yes, that Nathaniel Kingston. Lord have mercy, Eleanor murmured. And how did a man like that come to be giving my granddaughter rides home? Jasmine explained about finding her asleep in the bathroom, the late-night cleaning together, and the dinner invitation for Sunday. Eleanor listened in silence, her expression unreadable. When Jasmine finished, she asked, "And what do you think?" "Of this man? He's different than I expected," Jasmine said slowly. "Not just some rich guy. He seems lonely, despite having everything. And he's interested in you." It wasn't a question, but Jasmine nodded anyway. "I think so, but Grandma, it's crazy, right? Someone like him and someone like me." Eleanor chuckled. "Child, when I was young, a white man and a black woman couldn't even eat at the same restaurant in some places. Times change, but people's hearts, that's what you need to worry about. Is his heart good?" "I think so," Jasmine said. "But I barely know him." "Well, Sunday dinner should help with that," Eleanor said practically. "Now about this job situation, I'll find something else," Jasmine insisted. "I'll start looking today." "There's that new restaurant that opened on Bedford Avenue," Eleanor suggested. "I heard they're hiring waitstaff." Jasmine nodded, already making plans in her head. She could apply there today, maybe check the community college for tutoring jobs too. "Don't worry, Grandma, we'll be fine." "We always are," Eleanor said with a smile. "The Walker women are survivors." Across town, Nathaniel sat in his office, staring at his computer screen without really seeing it. He couldn't stop thinking about Jasmine, about their dinner plans for Sunday. Where should he take her? She'd said nothing fancy, but he wanted it to be special. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Margaret, his assistant, entered with a stack of files. "The quarterly reports you asked for, Mr. Kingston." She placed them on his desk. "And your mother called again. She said it's important." Nathaniel suppressed a groan. His mother had likely heard from Vanessa about his early departure from the gala. "Thank you, Margaret. Anything else?" Margaret hesitated. "The head of the cleaning service called. There's been a complaint." Nathaniel looked up sharply. "What kind of complaint?" "About you, sir. Apparently, you were seen helping one of the cleaners last night. They're concerned about liability. Issues." Nathaniel felt a flash of anger. "Call them back. Tell them there's no liability issue because I'm adding a clause to their contract that explicitly allows me to clean my own damn building if I want to." Margaret blinked in surprise. "Yes, sir, and Margaret, if anyone else calls with concerns about what I do in my own building, tell them to address those concerns to me directly." After Margaret left, Nathaniel picked up his phone and dialed his mother's number. Better to get it over with. "Nathaniel, darling," Elizabeth Kingston answered, her voice dripping with forced sweetness. "I was beginning to think you were avoiding me." "I've been busy, Mother. What can I do for you?" "You can explain why you disappeared from the gala before the Blackwells arrived," she said, dropping the pretense. "It was incredibly rude." "I had work to do," Nathaniel said flatly. "Work?" Elizabeth repeated. "Vanessa seems to think it was something else, or should I say someone else." Nathaniel silently cursed his sister. "My personal life is my business, Mother." "Not when it affects the family reputation," Elizabeth countered. "Kingston Enterprises is a legacy, Nathaniel. Your father built it from nothing, and now you're risking everything for what? Some passing infatuation?" "This conversation is over," Nathaniel said coldly. "I'm hosting Sunday dinner this weekend," Elizabeth continued as if he hadn't spoken. "I expect you to be there. The Reynoldses are coming, and Catherine has specifically asked if you'll be attending." Nathaniel closed his eyes, tension building in his temples. "I have plans on Sunday." "Cancel them," Elizabeth said firmly. "No," Nathaniel replied, surprising himself with the firmness in his voice. "I said I have plans and I'm keeping them." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "I see," Elizabeth finally said, her voice ice cold. "Well, when you're ready to remember your responsibilities to this family and this company, you know where to find me." The line went dead. Nathaniel put down his phone, feeling the weight of expectation pressing down on him as it had for most of his life. But for once, he didn't care. Sunday was for Jasmine, and nothing, not his mother, not the board, not anyone, was going to change that. The rest of the week passed in a blur. Nathaniel found himself working late every night, always timing it so he would run into Jasmine. They would talk while she cleaned, sometimes for just a few minutes, sometimes for an hour or more. He learned that she had lost her coffee shop job and felt a stab of guilt, knowing it was because of their late night together. "Let me help you find something else," he offered. "I don't need charity," Jasmine said firmly. "I've already applied at 3 places. Something will come through." Nathaniel admired her independence, even as he wished she would let him help. But he understood her pride. It was part of what drew him to her. By Sunday, Nathaniel was a bundle of nerves. He changed his outfit 3 times before settling on dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt, casual but nice, hopefully not intimidating. He'd chosen a small Italian restaurant in Greenwich Village, owned by a family he knew personally. It was upscale enough to be special, but casual enough that Jasmine wouldn't feel out of place. When he arrived at her apartment to pick her up, he brought a small pot of violets for her grandmother instead of flowers for Jasmine, a detail he'd carefully considered after learning how much Eleanor loved plants. Jasmine opened the door wearing a simple blue dress that made her eyes sparkle. Her hair was down, falling in soft curls around her shoulders, and she wore minimal makeup that highlighted her natural beauty. "You look beautiful," Nathaniel said, momentarily at a loss for words. Jasmine smiled, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "Thank you. You look nice too, very normal," Nathaniel laughed. "I'm taking that as a compliment." "It is," she assured him. "Come in for a minute. Grandma wants to meet you." Nathaniel followed her inside, suddenly nervous again. The apartment was small but immaculately clean, with worn but well-cared-for furniture. Family photos lined the walls, and the scent of cinnamon hung in the air. Eleanor Walker sat in her wheelchair in the living room, back straight, eyes sharp, as she assessed the billionaire standing in her modest home. "So you're the man who's been keeping my granddaughter out late," she said without preamble. "Grandma," Jasmine exclaimed, embarrassed. "It's all right," Nathaniel said, stepping forward to offer the violets. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Walker. I've heard wonderful things about you." Eleanor's stern expression softened as she took the plant. "Violets, my favorite. Jasmine told you." "She mentioned it," Nathaniel confirmed. "I thought you might enjoy them." Eleanor studied him for a long moment. "Sit down, Mr. Kingston. Just for a minute." Nathaniel glanced at Jasmine, who nodded slightly, then took a seat on the couch across from Eleanor. "My granddaughter tells me you're a busy man with a big company," Eleanor began. "So I have to wonder why you're interested in spending time with her." "Grandma, please," Jasmine said, mortified. "It's a fair question," Nathaniel said. "The truth is, Mrs. Walker, your granddaughter is the most genuine person I've met in a very long time. In my world, people usually want something from me. My money, my influence, my name. Jasmine doesn't care about any of that." "And what do you want from her?" Eleanor asked bluntly. Nathaniel met her gaze steadily. "Just her company, the chance to know her better." Eleanor nodded slowly. "All right then, you two go on and enjoy your dinner, but Mr. Kingston?" "Yes, ma'am. My granddaughter has worked hard her whole life. She's had to, and she's got dreams that don't have anything to do with a man, any man." "Remember that." "I will," Nathaniel promised. Outside, Jasmine shook her head in embarrassment. "I'm so sorry. She's usually not so direct." "Don't be sorry," Nathaniel said as he opened the car door for her. "She loves you and wants to protect you. I respect that." The restaurant was everything Nathaniel had hoped. Intimate, without being intimidating, with delicious food and a relaxed atmosphere. They talked for hours, sharing stories from their lives, discovering common interests in books and old movies, laughing more than either had in a long time. "Tell me about your dream," Nathaniel said as they shared a tiramisu for dessert. "The bookstore cafe." Jasmine's eyes lit up. It would be small but cozy. Bookshelves along the walls, comfortable chairs where people could sit and read. A cafe, counter in the back serving coffee and pastries. Maybe live music on weekends, local artists, you know. It sounds perfect, Nathaniel said, captivated by her enthusiasm. It's just a dream, Jasmine said with a shrug. But someday, when I finish, my degree when Grandma's care is taken care of. She trailed off, then smiled. Enough about my impossible dreams. Tell me something I don't know about Nathaniel Kingston. I write poetry, he admitted, then immediately felt foolish. Terrible poetry, but still. Jasmine laughed in delight. Really? I would never have guessed. I started in college just as a way to process things when my father got sick. I haven't shown anyone else. Would you show me sometime? Jasmine asked. The vulnerability in her question touched him. I'd like that. After dinner, they walked through the village, talking and laughing, neither wanting the evening to end. When they finally returned to Jasmine's apartment, Nathaniel walked her to the door as had become their custom. Thank you for tonight, Jasmine said softly. I had a wonderful time. So did I, Nathaniel replied. Can I see you again? Jasmine looked up at him, her expression serious. Nathaniel, I need to be honest with you. I like you more than I expected to, but our worlds are so different. I'm worried that what, he prompted when she paused, that one of us is going to get hurt when reality sets in. You're Nathaniel Kingston. I'm a cleaning lady and part-time student with a sick grandmother to support. Nathaniel took her hand gently. I know exactly who you are, Jasmine, and I'm not worried about our different worlds. I'm more interested in the world we create when we're together. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. Instead, she raised her face to his, and their lips met in a soft, sweet kiss that sent warmth spreading through both of them. When they broke apart, Jasmine's eyes remained closed for a moment, as if savoring the feeling. Good night, Nathaniel, she whispered. Good night, Jasmine. As he drove home, Nathaniel felt happier than he had in years, but his happiness was short-lived. When he arrived at his penthouse, he found Vanessa waiting for him, her expression grave. What is it? He asked, immediately alert. Is it Father? No, Father's fine, Vanessa assured him, but we have a problem. She handed him a tablet. On the screen was a gossip blog with the headline, Kingston heir slumming it? Billionaire CEO caught romancing cleaning lady. Below were photos of him and Jasmine, at her apartment, walking into the restaurant, even their kiss from just moments ago. How did they get these? Nathaniel demanded, anger rising in him. Someone's been following you, Vanessa said. And before you accuse me, it wasn't my people. This has Mother written all over it. Nathaniel felt sick. She would, Vanessa interrupted. And she did. She's determined to break this up before it goes any further. Nathaniel set the tablet down, his mind racing. This could hurt Jasmine. She didn't ask for this attention. It gets worse, Vanessa said quietly. Mother has been making calls. She found out your Jasmine lost her coffee shop job recently. How is that worse? Nathaniel asked, confused. Because Mother convinced the owner of the cleaning service to fire her too. Nathaniel stared at his sister in shock. She did what? Effective. Tomorrow Jasmine is unemployed, Vanessa confirmed. Mother's message is clear. End this relationship, or she'll make Jasmine's life impossible. Nathaniel felt rage building inside him. She can't do this. She already has, Vanessa said gently. And you know, Mother, this is just the beginning. Nathaniel grabbed his keys. I have to warn Jasmine. Nate, wait, Vanessa called after him. Think about this. Maybe Mother's right, not about her methods, but about the reality of the situation. Your world and Jasmine's are completely different. I don't care, Nathaniel said firmly. For the first time in my life, I've found someone who makes me feel alive. I'm not giving that up because it doesn't fit into Mother's perfect plan for the Kingston dynasty. As he rushed back to Brooklyn, Nathaniel didn't notice the black sedan that pulled out behind him, following at a discreet distance. When he reached Jasmine's building, he ran up the steps and knocked urgently. It was late past 11, but he had to warn her. Jasmine opened the door in pajama pants and a t-shirt, her hair tied back. When she saw his expression, her smile faded. What's wrong? May I come in? He asked. Inside, Nathaniel explained about the gossip blog and his mother's interference with her job. As he spoke, Jasmine's expression changed from shock to hurt to anger. She had me fired, she asked in disbelief. How could she do that? My mother believes she's protecting our family name, Nathaniel said bitterly. She doesn't understand. No, I think she understands perfectly, Jasmine interrupted. She understands that I'm not the kind of woman she wants for her son. I don't care what she wants, Nathaniel insisted, taking Jasmine's hands. It's what I want that matters, and I want you. Jasmine pulled her hands away. But don't you see? This is exactly what I was afraid of. One dinner, one kiss, and already my life is falling apart. I need those jobs, Nathaniel. I have bills to pay, medication to buy. I can help. No, Jasmine said firmly. I told you I don't want your charity. It's not charity, Nathaniel protested. It's what? Love? Jasmine shook her head. We barely know each other. Eleanor wheeled herself into the room, her expression concerned. What's going on? I heard raised voices. Jasmine quickly explained the situation. Eleanor's face hardened as she listened. So this woman thinks she can control who her son sees by destroying my granddaughter's livelihood, Eleanor said, her voice deceptively calm. I've seen this kind of thing before, Mr. Kingston. The rich and powerful thinking they can step on anyone who gets in their way. I'm not like that, Nathaniel said, desperate for them to understand, and I won't let my mother get away with this. How are you going to stop her? Jasmine asked. She's your mother, and clearly she has resources and isn't afraid to use them. Nathaniel straightened his shoulders, a plan forming in his mind. I'm Nathaniel Kingston, CEO of Kingston Enterprises. I have resources too, and it's time I used them. What are you going to do? Jasmine asked, looking worried. First, I'm going to make sure you don't suffer because of me, Nathaniel said. I'm not offering charity, Jasmine. I'm offering justice. My mother created this problem, and I'm going to fix it. And then what? Eleanor asked, studying him carefully. Nathaniel met her gaze. Then I'm going to make it very clear to my mother and anyone else who's interested that my personal life is my own, and I choose to share it with Jasmine if she'll have me. He turned to Jasmine, whose eyes were filled with uncertainty. I know this isn't what you signed up for. If you want to walk away, I'll understand, but I'm asking you to trust me, to give us a chance despite everything. Jasmine was silent for a long moment, looking from Nathaniel to her grandmother and back again. I need time to think, she finally said. Nathaniel nodded, his heart heavy. I understand, but whatever you decide, I'm going to fix this. You have my word. As he turned to leave, Eleanor called after him. Mr. Kingston? He looked back. Your mother. She's trying to protect what she values most. Her family, her legacy. Remember that when you confront her. Nathaniel nodded, understanding the wisdom in her words. I will, Mrs. Walker. Thank you. Outside, the night air was cold against his face. As he walked to his car, Nathaniel felt a resolve hardening inside him. His whole life he had followed the path laid out for him. The dutiful son, the responsible CEO, the perfect heir to the Kingston name. But now, for the first time, he was ready to forge his own path. And if that meant going to war with his own mother, then so be it. What he didn't know was that Elizabeth Kingston was already several steps ahead of him, and her next move would test not only his resolve, but Jasmine's as well. The Kingston Mansion stood on 5 manicured acres in Greenwich, Connecticut, its Georgian columns and perfect symmetry, a testament to old money and established power. Nathaniel parked his car in the circular driveway and sat for a moment, gathering his resolve. It had been 2 days since he'd last seen Jasmine, 2 days of unanswered texts and calls, 2 days of wondering if she'd decided their worlds were too different after all. But regardless of her decision, he owed her this much: to confront his mother and undo the damage she'd caused. The housekeeper, Mrs. Winters, opened the door with a warm smile. She'd been with the family since Nathaniel was a child, and was one of the few people who saw past the Kingston name to the actual people behind it. She's in the solarium, Mr. Nathaniel, Mrs. Winters said, taking his coat, with Mr. Reynolds and his daughter. Nathaniel frowned. Of course his mother would have. Catherine there. Another attempt at matchmaking, another piece in her grand plan for his life. He found them having tea, Elizabeth Kingston looking elegant as always in a pale blue suit, while Catherine Reynolds sat close by in a designer dress that probably cost More than Jasmine made in 3 months. Nathaniel, darling, Elizabeth said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. What a lovely surprise. You know Catherine, of course. Hello, Nathaniel, Catherine purred, standing to kiss his cheek. I was just telling your mother about the charity committee I'm chairing. We'd love to have Kingston Enterprises as our primary sponsor. Nathaniel stepped back, ignoring her greeting. Mother, we need to talk, privately. Elizabeth's smile tightened. Catherine, would you excuse us? Perhaps Mrs. Winters can show you the gardens. Once Catherine had left, Elizabeth's pleasant facade dropped. If this is about that cleaning woman, her name is Jasmine, Nathaniel said coldly. And yes, this is about her. More specifically about how you had her fired and dragged her name through the gossip blogs. Elizabeth sipped her tea calmly. I did what was necessary to protect this family. Protect us from what exactly? From me being happy? From scandal? Elizabeth corrected. From you throwing away everything your father built for a passing infatuation with a woman who is clearly after your money. Nathaniel laughed bitterly. You don't know her at all. Jasmine has refused every offer of help I've made. She works 2 jobs to support her sick grandmother and put herself through school. She has more integrity in her little finger than most of the people in our social circle have in their entire bodies. She's a smart girl then, Elizabeth acknowledged, playing the long game. But make no mistake, Nathaniel, women like that always have an angle. Women like what, Mother? Nathaniel challenged. Black women? Working-class women? Elizabeth looked affronted. Don't put words in my mouth. This isn't about race, it's about suitability. The Kingstons have a certain position to maintain. I don't care about position. I care about Jasmine, and you've hurt her. I've protected you, Elizabeth insisted. One day you'll thank me. Nathaniel shook his head, a deep sadness settling over him. You know what, Mother? For years, I've tried to be the son you and Father wanted. I gave up my dreams of architecture to run the company. I went to all the right parties, dated all the right women, sat on all the right boards. I did everything you asked, and do you know what it got me? A life so empty that when I found a woman sleeping in a bathroom because she was too exhausted to stay awake between jobs, I envied her. Envied her, Elizabeth repeated, incredulous. A cleaning woman. Yes, Nathaniel said simply, because despite having so little, she has what matters. Real relationships, real purpose, real feelings. Not this. He gestured around the perfect solarium. This performance we call a life. Elizabeth stood, her composure cracking slightly. You're being ridiculous and ungrateful. Everything your father and I did was for you and Vanessa to give you the best life possible. No, Nathaniel said, the truth finally clear to him. It was to give yourselves the best life possible, with perfect children who never embarrassed you at the country club. How dare you? Elizabeth began, but Nathaniel cut her off. I'm not finished. You had Jasmine fired. I'm going to fix that. I've already spoken to the cleaning service. They're rehiring her with a promotion and a raise. And if they hadn't agreed, I would have bought the company and done it myself. Elizabeth's eyes widened. You wouldn't. I would. I am the CEO of Kingston Enterprises, after all. And speaking of that, Nathaniel pulled out his phone and showed her an email he'd drafted. This is a press release announcing my personal donation of $1 million to a scholarship fund for working adults completing their education. The first recipient, Jasmine Walker. You can't do this, Elizabeth said, her voice rising. I already have, Nathaniel replied calmly. The board approved it this morning. They did. Turns out a CEO who shows compassion and commitment to education is good for the company image, better than one who fires cleaning staff because his mother disapproves of them. Elizabeth sank back into her chair, momentarily defeated. And what about us? Your family? Does that mean nothing to you? Nathaniel's expression softened slightly. It means everything to me. That's why I'm here talking to you instead of simply issuing the press release without warning. I want you to understand something, Mother. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing it because for the first time in my adult life, I know what I want. And what I want is a chance with Jasmine. And if I can't accept that, Elizabeth asked quietly, then that's your choice, Nathaniel said, but it won't change mine. As he turned to leave, Elizabeth called after him, her voice suddenly sounding older, more vulnerable. Your father would be disappointed. Nathaniel paused at the door. I don't think so, he said without turning around. Dad always told me to recognize value when I saw it. Jasmine is valuable, Mother. I just wish you could see that. He walked out, leaving Elizabeth Kingston alone with her tea and her thoughts. In Brooklyn, Jasmine sat on the worn couch in her apartment, surrounded by job applications. She'd spent the past 2 days in a fog, filling out form after form, making call after call. So far, nothing. Her phone buzzed with another text from Nathaniel, his 5th today. Like the others, she didn't answer it. What was there to say? He lived in a world where people could have others fired on a whim, a world of million-dollar apartments and private drivers, and mothers who thought people like her weren't good enough, and yet she missed him, missed his laugh, his genuine interest in her life, the way he'd looked at her like she was the most fascinating person he'd ever met. Still ignoring him? Eleanor asked from her wheelchair. Jasmine sighed. It's for the best, Grandma, is it? Eleanor wheeled closer. The man came here in the middle of the night to warn you, to promise he'd fix things. He can't fix the fact that we're from different worlds, Jasmine said, gathering up her applications. Different worlds, Eleanor scoffed. When I was young, I wasn't allowed to drink from the same water fountain as a white person. That was different worlds. You and this man. That's just different neighborhoods. Jasmine looked up, surprised by her grandmother's words. You think I should give him a chance? I think you already care about him, Eleanor said gently, and running away, because you're scared isn't the Jasmine Walker I raised. Before Jasmine could respond, there was a knock at the door, probably another delivery from Nathaniel. He'd been sending food, flowers, books, anything to show he was thinking of her. But when she opened the door, it wasn't a delivery person. It was Vanessa Kingston. Jasmine stood frozen, taking in the elegant woman with Nathaniel's eyes and a much colder expression. Miss Walker, Vanessa said, may I come in? We need to talk. Jasmine hesitated, then stepped aside. Of course. Vanessa entered, her designer handbag and tailored suit looking out of place in the modest apartment. She nodded politely to Eleanor. Mrs. Walker, I presume. I'm Vanessa Kingston, Nathaniel's sister. I figured, Eleanor said, eyeing her warily. Come to finish what your mother started. Vanessa had the grace to look embarrassed. Actually, I've come to apologize for my mother's behavior, and to talk some sense into your granddaughter. Me? Jasmine asked, confused. Yes, you, Vanessa said, turning to face her. Do you have any idea what my brother has been doing for the past 2 days? He's taken on our mother, something no one does, created a scholarship in your name, guaranteed your job back with a promotion, and generally been so lovesick that his assistant called me worried he was having a breakdown. Jasmine blinked, trying to process this information. He did all that? He did, Vanessa confirmed. And you've been ignoring his calls. I needed time to think, Jasmine said defensively. Well, think faster, Vanessa advised, but her tone had softened. Look, I was skeptical about you at first. I thought you might be after his money, his status, but then I saw the photos. Photos? Eleanor asked. Vanessa pulled out her phone and showed them the pictures from the gossip blog. Nathaniel and Jasmine walking, talking, laughing. Look at his face, Vanessa said softly. I haven't seen my brother look like that. Ever. Not with any of the socialites or models or businesswomen our mother has thrown at him over the years. Just with you. Jasmine stared at the photos, at the open, joyful expression on Nathaniel's face as he looked at her. But your mother is a snob, Vanessa finished for her. A well-intentioned one, but a snob nonetheless. She thinks she knows what's best for everyone, especially her children, but she doesn't, not this time. So why are you here? Jasmine asked. Why do you care? Vanessa sighed, her polished exterior cracking slightly. Because I love my brother, and somehow, against all odds and social conventions, you make him happy. Genuinely happy maybe for the first time in his adult life. Eleanor wheeled forward. That's all well and good, but your family has cost my granddaughter both her jobs. Kind words don't pay the bills. I understand that, Vanessa said, looking from Eleanor to Jasmine. Which is why I'm here with a proposition. I don't want charity, Jasmine said quickly. Not charity, Vanessa corrected. An opportunity. The Kingston Foundation funds several community programs, including a bookstore literacy project in underprivileged neighborhoods. We need someone to manage the Brooklyn location, someone with a business background who understands the community. The position comes with a full scholarship to complete your business degree. Jasmine stared at her, speechless. This isn't coming from Nathaniel, Vanessa added. He doesn't even know I'm here. This is coming from me, as the head of the foundation. You're qualified and we need someone. Whether you decide to see my brother again or not, the job offer stands. Eleanor studied Vanessa carefully. That's quite generous. It's not generosity, it's practicality, Vanessa replied. I reviewed Miss Walker's resume. Yes, I did my homework. She's exactly what the program needs. Jasmine's mind was spinning. A job managing a bookstore? A scholarship? It was like a dream, too good to be true. I need to think about it, she said finally. Vanessa nodded and handed her a business card. Of course, call me when you decide. She moved toward the door, then paused. And Jasmine, if you do care about my brother, call him. He's miserable without you. After Vanessa left, Jasmine sat beside her grandmother, turning the business card over in her hands. What do you think, Grandma? Eleanor took her granddaughter's hand. I think sometimes blessings come in strange packages. And I think that man cares about you enough to fight his own mother for you. Jasmine smiled slightly. He does, doesn't he? The question is, Eleanor said gently, do you care enough about him to fight for him too? Across town, Nathaniel sat in his office, staring out at the city lights. It was late, past 9, but he couldn't bring himself to go home to his empty penthouse. Not when his thoughts were full of Jasmine. Maybe she had decided it was too much. The scandal, his mother's interference, the gossip. Maybe she was right, and their worlds were too different to bridge. His office phone rang, startling him. At this hour, it could only be an emergency. Kingston, he answered. Mr. Kingston, this is security. There's a woman here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she insists it's important. Nathaniel's heart leapt. What's her name? Jasmine. Walker, sir. Send her up right away. Nathaniel paced the office, straightening his tie, running a hand through his hair. When the elevator dinged, he stopped, watching the doors slide open. And there she was, in jeans and a simple sweater, her hair tied back, her eyes uncertain but determined. Jasmine, he said, relief flooding through him. Your sister came to see me, she said without preamble. Nathaniel frowned. She did? I didn't know. She offered me a job, managing a bookstore for your foundation. I swear, I had nothing to do with that, Nathaniel began, but Jasmine held up a hand. I know. She told me. She also told me what you've been doing, fighting. Your mother creating a scholarship, getting my job back. Nathaniel stepped closer. I promised I would fix it. You did, Jasmine acknowledged. But that's not why I'm here. Then why are you here? Nathaniel asked softly. Jasmine took a deep breath. I kept telling myself our worlds were too different, that someone like you and someone like me couldn't possibly work, that it was better to end it before either of us got hurt. And now? Nathaniel prompted when she paused. And now I realize I was just scared, Jasmine admitted. Not of your mother or the gossip or the differences. I was scared of how much I already care about you after such a short time. Nathaniel's heart soared. He moved forward, taking her hands in his. I care about you too, more than I thought possible. What about your mother? Jasmine asked. Your family? My mother will come around eventually, Nathaniel said. And if she doesn't, that's her loss. As for family, he smiled. I quite like your grandmother. She seems like enough family for both of us. Jasmine laughed, the sound like music to his ears. She likes you too, though she'd never admit it. And the job Vanessa offered? Nathaniel asked. Will you take it? Jasmine nodded. Yes, it's an amazing opportunity, and it's something I would have wanted even if I'd never met you. That's what matters, Nathaniel said, that you're doing it for yourself, not for me. There is one condition, though, Jasmine said, her expression turning serious. What's that? No special treatment. If I'm going to work for your family's foundation, I need to know I earned it on my own merits. Nathaniel nodded. Agreed. Vanessa runs the foundation like her own kingdom anyway. She'd never listen to me even if I tried to interfere. Jasmine smiled, then reached up to touch his face gently. There's one more thing. Anything, Nathaniel said, leaning into her touch. I need you to kiss me, Jasmine whispered. Right now. Nathaniel didn't need to be asked twice. He pulled her close, his lips finding hers in a kiss that felt like coming home. When they finally broke apart, both were smiling. So what happens now? Jasmine asked. Now, Nathaniel said, we figure it out together, one day at a time. 3 months later, the Kingston family gathered for their annual summer gala. To everyone's surprise, Elizabeth Kingston had insisted that Jasmine be invited, not just as Nathaniel's guest, but as an honored contributor to the Kingston Foundation's literacy program, which was already showing impressive results under her management. As Jasmine stood in a simple but elegant gown discussing education initiatives with the mayor, Nathaniel watched her from across the room, his heart full of pride and love. She's good, Vanessa said, appearing at his side. Mother actually complimented her earlier. I nearly fainted. Nathaniel chuckled. Jasmine has that effect on people. Once they get to know her, they can't help but love her. Speaking of love, Vanessa said, eyeing the small box in his jacket pocket that he'd been touching nervously all evening. Is it that obvious? Nathaniel asked. Only to someone who knows you as well as I do, Vanessa assured him. Does she have any idea? Nathaniel shook his head. No, I want it to be a surprise. Well, for what it's worth, Vanessa said, squeezing his arm. I think she'll say yes. Across the room, Eleanor watched from her wheelchair as her granddaughter captivated the crowd. Beside her, surprisingly, sat Elizabeth Kingston. Your granddaughter is quite impressive, Elizabeth admitted. The literacy rates at her center have improved dramatically. She's always been smart, Eleanor said proudly. Just needed a chance to show it. Elizabeth nodded, a hint of humility in her expression. I may have been hasty in my judgment. You were protecting your son, Eleanor acknowledged. I understand that. I'd have done the same for Jasmine. The two women shared a look of mutual respect. Not quite friendship, but a beginning. Later that night, Nathaniel and Jasmine walked through the gardens of the Kingston estate, the moon casting silver light on the roses and fountains. Happy? Nathaniel asked, his arm around her waist. Very, Jasmine replied, leaning into him, though I think your mother nearly strained something trying to be nice to Grandma. Nathaniel laughed. They'll get there eventually. Eleanor is hard. Not to like. Like her granddaughter, Jasmine teased. Exactly like her granddaughter, Nathaniel agreed, stopping by a stone bench overlooking the garden's central fountain. Jasmine, there's something I want to ask you. He took both her hands. In his expression serious yet full of love. These past months with you have been the happiest of my life. You've shown me what really matters. Not money or status or power, but connection, purpose, love. Jasmine's eyes widened as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. I know it hasn't been that long, Nathaniel continued, dropping to one knee. But when you know, you know. And I know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. He opened the box, revealing a ring with a simple, elegant diamond. Jasmine Walker. Will you marry me? Tears filled Jasmine's eyes as she looked down at the man before her. Not Nathaniel Kingston, billionaire CEO, but just Nathaniel. The man who had helped her clean floors, who had fought for her, who had seen her for who she truly was. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I will. As he slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms, neither of them noticed the figures watching from the terrace. Vanessa with a smile, Eleanor with tears of joy, and Elizabeth with a slowly dawning acceptance. Two worlds had collided that night in the executive bathroom of Kingston Enterprises, and against all odds, they had created something beautiful. A new world built on love, respect, and the courage to see beyond the surface to the heart that beats beneath. 6 months later, Jasmine stood in the bridal suite of a small, elegant venue, her grandmother beside her. Her dress was simple but stunning, Eleanor's vintage pearl necklace around her neck. How your parents would be so proud, Eleanor said, adjusting the necklace. So am I. Do you think we're doing the right thing? Jasmine asked, suddenly nervous. It all happened so fast. Eleanor took her granddaughter's hands. Love doesn't check a calendar, child. When it's right, it's right. A knock at the door announced Vanessa, elegant in her maid-of-honor dress. Ready? She asked with a smile. My brother is out there looking like he might faint from happiness. Jasmine took a deep breath and nodded. I'm ready. As she walked down the aisle toward Nathaniel, past their gathered friends and family, from corporate executives to the cleaning staff who had become her friends, Jasmine felt a sense of completion. Their journey had begun in the most unexpected place, but it had led them exactly where they were meant to be. And when they exchanged their vows, making promises of love and commitment, it didn't matter that one had been born to wealth and the other to struggle. What mattered was that they had found each other, seen each other, and chosen to build a life together, a life richer than either could have imagined alone. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the minister declared. You may kiss the bride. As Nathaniel took Jasmine in his arms, sealing their vows with a kiss, the guests erupted in applause. Even Elizabeth Kingston dabbed at her eyes, while Eleanor Walker beamed with pride. Two families once worlds apart, now joined as one. Two lives, forever changed by a chance encounter in the most unexpected place. And that, after all, is how the best love stories begin.